Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving right ahead here in Genesis. We're in chapter 30 now, and we have this Rachel very sad over not having the children. And she's envying her sister, and there's contention. And fact is that anytime there's two wives, there's going to be turmoil. Now, God is not cursing this family over this, and the handmaids being pregnant and all that. Obviously, this is within God's will. However, it's also in His will that we look and see that, as here, as anywhere in the Old or New Testament, where there's two wives, someone is angry about it. Someone is feeling left out, because Christ explained that it's a one-on-one situation. In a good relationship, in a perfect relationship, you'll have the man and the wife. He actually sends us back to Genesis, where the man leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh, not multiple fleshes here. Okay? So that's what it's supposed to be, and you're seeing the contention, the turmoil that can come from multiple spouses, men or women here. Okay. And give me children or else I die. Okay. Verse 2. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? Question mark. Notice how they're saying it's in God's hand. So, if that's the case, we know it is. The fact that Bilhah and so forth, they get pregnant, that means that it was within God's will. However, the contention is still here. Okay, in 3, and she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. Look at the love of the family. Look at her trying to create a family. In 4, and she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife. And Jacob went in unto her. Okay, so here you see how they long to have the family here. It really has taken so much brainwashing and trying to condition even a spell over the public to get them to hate being pregnant, to hate having a family. Okay, it's that condition of mankind in the world is a prophecy fulfilled. Families split over Christ. Not being able to trust your neighbor. Adultery, going crazy. All that is prophecy. That's what all the prophets said it would be like at the end of time. So he went in unto her in 4 and 5, and Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. Okay, according to this, Rachel named him this, and according to the translators, it means judging. So she's talking about God judged her, and that means Dan. Now, whenever I talk about Dan, I always go back to the fact that it came out of Babylon. That name came out of Babylon. But here we see that Rachel gave him this name. And so I gotta lighten up on old Bilhah over this name, because a lot of the old kings out of Babylon, like Kabbalah Dan and those people, were named Dan, and Dan actually in prophecy can mean Babylon. Okay, the soldiers were warring against Dan. It wasn't, and the tribe of Dan wasn't even here. He wasn't born yet. So the fact is, when they say that they're warring against Dan, that means Babylon. Okay. But here in this good old King James Genesis, we know that Rachel gave him that name, and it means judging, according to these translators here, out of the Hebrew. In 7, and Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. And according to the translators, that name means wrestling. Notice the wrestling here, folks. And that's what I mean. Can you imagine two sisters married to one man? How that would cause turmoil? Well, of course, it caused trouble. There's no doubt about it. Jealousy. It's just not meant to be this way. However, we struggle through that. It's not a curse. God is not cursing this family. This is the 12 sons, and they're going to be on the 12 gates of the New Jerusalem. Each of them have a apostle judging over them at the 12 gates, the 12 foundations. All right, so anyway, here is Naphtali. 9, and when Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. So here comes the 12 sons. 10, and Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, a troop cometh. And she called his name Gad. And according to the translators again here of the King James, means a troop or company. All right? Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. 13, and Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And according to the translators, that means happy. All right, so there's that. 14, we start a new paragraph. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy sons mandrakes. Okay, and if you look this up, you're going to see these mandrakes. They're like a rhubarb type plant, and the fruit has a narcotic. It'll cause a narcotic condition to come on the one eating it. It has other uses though. It's a medicine. Okay. All right, so there's that. And anytime you have these types of things, most good medicines aren't chemical anyway. They come from the earth. Is that not true, folks? Okay. All right, so in 14 was a new paragraph, and Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes, capital M, in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy sons mandrakes. Period. Okay, listen to this contention. 15, and she said unto her, it is a small matter that thou hast taken my husband. And she said in 15 unto her, is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? Question mark. And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore she shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. Now this is a little strange. However, the womb is opened here. God has seen it. God opens the womb. Obviously, this is within the will of God. 16. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes, period. And he lay with her that night, period. 17. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the fifth son, period. Okay, now you see how God hearkened to Leah. So this is within God's will. We can't put our judgment, our modern judgment on this, or any other judgment. If God did not curse her over this, this is within God's will to create the 12 sons. He's not going to just allow it to go willy-nilly. In fact, if you didn't obey God when it comes to the bearing of children here within this bloodline, that could get you killed. And that happens here, does it not? For people that would not obey God when it comes to this bloodline, which is Christ's bloodline, which is the 12 tribes, which are over the New Jerusalem temple. That's the bottom line. If it wasn't God's will, it wouldn't be happening. And I'm talking about the spilling of the seed against God's will. And we are going to study that, are we not? Okay. So in 17, and God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the fifth son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maid to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And it says, out of the Hebrew, that is an hire. It's like a hireling. 19. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And according to the translators in Hebrew, dwelling. 21. And afterward she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. Okay, and that's going to go right to she plays a major part there in Shechem. Okay, and we'll get to that. 22 is a new paragraph. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, The Lord shall add to me another son. The Lord shall add to me another son. Now, we know the great blessing that Joseph was, how he obeyed. Oh my, what a good soldier for the Lord. Okay, and look at all the people that he ended up helping, and how in the future here, there's not enough good that can be said about Joseph. Also, the prophecy at the end of the second of the last chapter here in Genesis, Joseph, along with Judah, get very, very good prophecies for the future. 25 is a new paragraph. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go unto mine own place, to my country. 26. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done thee. Now, there's a lot of details here that are in Jacer that are, as you progress here, studier, if you haven't read this in Jacer, it really fills in the blanks here. All right, Laban again was an occultist. He's a truce breaker. He's a turncoat. Yeah, enough bad can't be said about Laban. And he ends up trying to get Jacob killed. Anyway, we'll be studying that. Okay, in 27, and Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. Now, if that's true, then why would he try to set him up with Esau? All right, I'm giving that away. All right, on we go. In 28, and he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. 29, and he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. In 30, it says, for it was little which thou hast before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude, and the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for mine own house also? Question mark. In 31, and he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all the flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. 33, so shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face, every one that is not speckled and spotted amongst the goats, and brown amongst the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. So then that's where they're going to split up the cattle. 34, and Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. 35, and he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked, that's like striped, and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown amongst the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob and 36. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Okay, so there he's doing what he made the deal to do. 37, new paragraph, and Jacob took him rods of green poplar. That's a type of tree. And of the hazel and chestnut tree, and peeled white shrakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. Okay, so he's making them kind of striped here. 38, and he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. Okay, so this is what? This is supernatural here. There's no reason for this other than something God has given him in spirit to do. Okay, because just striping or peeling, as they're calling it, stripping the bark in shrakes would not cause pregnancies in cattle. It just wouldn't. So this is supernatural here. Can I use that term, supernatural? Okay. Okay, in 37, it says white shrakes in them and made the white appear, which was in the rods. 38, and he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. 39, and the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-shraked, speckled, and spotted. 40, and Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-shraked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban, and he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. Nothing is crooked about that. That is completely exactly what they agreed to. Okay, now that's going to come into play later on here. 41, and it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. Okay. 42, but when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. 43, and the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maid servants, and men servants, and camels, and asses. Okay, so here is that chapter. And again, you got to remember that God's hand is in all this when it comes to Jacob. Jacob is loved exceedingly. God sees his heart, and God instructs him many times, and he obeys. He obeys. He really does. He listens to his mother. He listens to God. This is Jesus Christ's bloodline here, folks. And there's no reason for anybody to try to make this into something that it ain't. That there's some scientist here that's going to explain why this works or it doesn't work. God can make anything work. And he's doing it here for Jacob. And there's no doubt about this all being under the will of God. Okay? Because God would not allow Christ's bloodline to veer to the left or the right. He's going to make it work out. Okay, so anyway, there's a lot of people that throw mud at this over our saints, over our patriarchs. They just do. They look for any chink in the armor, and then they start lying and going to town. All that is just bunk. This is all within the will of God.